What if contentment isn't about having everything? Hi there, I'm LaVeck, and this is Life After Losses. This is a place where I share my thoughts as a double widower on what it means to live our lives after loss. Now, I think a lot of us spend years waiting for life to settle down, waiting for the next goal, waiting for the problem to get solved, waiting for some future version of life where everything finally feels complete. The question I've been asking myself lately is this: what if we've been postponing appreciation while we're waiting for arrival? Today I want to talk about contentment, enoughness, and why life doesn't have to be perfect before we allow ourselves to recognize what's already good. In entry 287, what about contentment? So let's get into that. If you would ask me years ago what I thought happiness looked like, I probably would have described life with fewer problems, less stress, less uncertainty, less grief, less of the weight that just seems to accumulate the longer you're alive. I think a lot of us carry some version of that idea. We imagine that one day we finally get everything we sorted out. All the difficult situations will resolve, the unanswered questions will get answered, the stress will settle, the future will come into focus. And then, finally, we'll be happy. We'll allow ourselves to exhale and actually enjoy the life we've been working so hard to build. The problem is that life doesn't really work that way. Just when one challenge gets resolved, another one shows up. Plans change, people change, circumstances shift in ways you didn't see coming. New responsibilities arrive, unexpected losses arrive. Life keeps moving whether you're ready for it to or not. And if you're always waiting for the difficult parts to disappear before you let yourself appreciate anything, well, you can end up waiting for a very long time. Here's the thing. I've come to realize, slowly and not always gracefully, that contentment and perfection are not the same thing. In fact, I think a lot of us miss contentment entirely because we're holding out for perfection. We're waiting for the day when everything feels finished, everything feels resolved, everything feels okay, before we allow ourselves to notice what's already here. I spent years doing that. And loss is a way of forcing you to reckon with it, because loss makes it undeniably clear that the life you're waiting for to fully inhabit isn't the one that you're currently living. My life isn't perfect. There are still things I'm working toward, goals I haven't reached, projects I want to finish, places I want to go. There are days when everything feels heavy, days when I worry, days when I feel the absence of people who aren't here anymore in a way that just doesn't fully go away. And that's still real, that hasn't changed, but somewhere along the way, I stopped measuring the quality of my life by the absence of problems. And I started paying attention to what was already present. I have children I love. I have friendships that have genuinely stood the test of time. Not the easy kind, not the real kind, but the real kind, the kind that have been through things with me. I have newer friendships that challenge how I've experienced the world so far. I have a dog who is completely convinced every single time I walk through the door that I am the greatest thing that has ever happened all day. I get to write, I get to create, I get to perform, I get to help people navigate some of the hardest experiences of their lives, and occasionally say something that makes them feel a little less alone. I have work that feels meaningful. I have people I care about and people who care about me. And when I stop long enough to actually look at all of that, and this is seriously, not to rush past it, not to minimize it, not immediately pivot to what's still missing, I find myself thinking something pretty simple. This is a pretty good life. Not a perfect life, but not an easy one. Not the life I would have drawn up for myself if someone had handed me a blank piece of paper 20 years ago, but a good one, a real one that has been shaped by both love and loss, and is somehow richer for both. I think that's what contentment actually feels like. It doesn't feel like excitement or some peak emotional moment you have to point to. It's way quieter than that. It's the ability to sit inside your life exactly as it is right now and recognize that there is genuine goodness here. Yes, even alongside the grief, the uncertainty, and everything that's still unresolved. Contentment isn't denial. It's not forcing gratitude when you're hurting or pretending the hard parts don't exist. It's something closer to perspective. The understanding that life can be messy and meaningful at the same time. That disappointment and fulfillment can share the same life. That grief and joy are not opposites, that they can live in the same space. Sometimes even on the same day. And that's what these last several weeks have been about. One idea keeps coming back to me lately. I don't need to arrive before I appreciate where I am. I don't have to postpone appreciation until some future, more sorted out version of my life shows up. Because this moment counts. This life counts. Right now, as imperfect and unfinished as it is. And maybe contentment isn't about having everything. Maybe it's about recognizing when you already have enough. So now it's your turn. This week, I'm going to ask you to do a little bit at home. So recalling the last few weeks, I'd like you to take a look at your life as it actually exists right now. Not the version you're working toward, not the version you wish were different. And ask yourself the following. What in your life already feels like enough? What goodness might you be overlooking because you're focused on what still needs to change? And what might shift if you allowed yourself to appreciate where you are without waiting to arrive somewhere else first? If you're comfortable, I'd love to hear. Thanks for watching.